Here we go. Here we go. And we are live. Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Welcome to the GDN discussion with Jennifer Hale. My name is Liam, Liam Sauter. I founded GDN about 4 years ago. This is Kim. She's one of the people who helped run GDN. She's been with us equally as long a time. Do you want to say a little hi, Kim?
hello, folks. I'm Kim from Germany, and I think I found GDN mid of 2017. It's a wonderful place. Come say hi if you aren't there already.
Perfect. Thank you. And everyone, this is, as you already know, Jennifer Hale.
Hello. Or should I say hello? Or should I say hello? There's a million ways to do that. Should we take it again?
I'm sure everyone in the chat is fangirling right now. Perfect. So yeah, today everyone. So most of the people here right now are either developers or voice actors. One of the best things about our community is that we get to see game developers from all over the world, from all different areas of game dev. Be you a complete beginner, a hobbyist, industry veteran, studio director, maybe. And because of that range of developers that we see, it gives us a lot of opportunity to sort of, get some advice from Jennifer on how we as developers can work best with voice actors. And for the voice actors here right now, how you can best start working with developers and break into the industry, really. And I think a nice way to sort of start this discussion will be, Jennifer, if you have any advice for, for anyone who wants to get into voice acting, either be that from a hobbyist position, just getting into the industry.
Yes, I do. There are some great resources online. I started a site called skillshub.life. The URL is actually if you go to acting.skillshub.life, that's a site where we've collected a whole bunch of AAA coaches. They're voice directors, booth directors, casting directors, creators. And we have a killer roster of coaches. And what's specific and unique about it is you can get 10 minutes with them. You don't have to do like an hour-long block or take a 3-week course. So that's a really great place to dip your toe in. We also have a ton of resources where you can just kind of tootle around the forum and all these other places. So that's one online resource. Another online resource is D. Bradley Baker's site, I want to be a voiceactor.com. Definitely check that out as well. It's killer. And then there's some stuff to do, play the long game. For if you want to get into voice acting, get as clear as you can today about what you want from it, because what you want from it will probably change over time, right? Maybe you just want to read better to your kids, or you want to be a better dungeon master, or that was one of my favorite coachings at Skillshub. Somebody came in and they just knocked it out of the park with one of our coaches for their game and stuff, and it was awesome. But so get a clear vision of what you want. If you want to play in the field with me and some of my peers, like, know that. And then build yourself what I call the chop wood, or one of my mentors calls the chop wood, carry water tools for the day. Like, what do you need to do each day or each week to just be that regular thing? It's like, we often use the comparison to getting in shape. Like, if I went to the gym once a month on a Sunday for 4 hours and killed myself, I still just putting $1 in the bank. So put that $1 in the bank each day, read out loud, take formal singing training, even if you're not a singer, because it will allow you access to pieces of your voice that you would not have otherwise. And even more importantly, will keep you from killing your voice in things like a game session, because game sessions, under the SAG contract, they're 4 hours long, and that's a 4-hour one-person show. And it's intense. And if you're doing battle stuff, hopefully they're doing it in a shorter, like 2-hour session, because you don't want to do this for 4 hours. Die, right? So, improv training is also really, really important, and basic acting training. And specifically, the kinds of singing training are like your Broadway belt training, your opera training, things that require really specific physical muscles to be built, because that's what supports you. And, have a really good life. That's the thing. And there's I could talk for hours about this career, and I do on the site. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, and get out and play. Get out. Coming in places like this is fantastic, because you're meeting people who are doing what you're doing. And one thing, like, I look around at my friends who, are still my friends today, that have been my friends since forever. Some before I moved to LA, some since I moved to LA in the early 90s. And, you know, you look at someone like myself or any of my other peers and you go, I want to work with them. And that will happen in some instances. What's going to happen a lot more is look around at your peers, at the creators next to you, at the voice actors next to you. You all link arms and join hands, and all boats will rise together. That is the founding philosophy of Skillshub. That's, you know, when we created that, that's what it's about. And know that that's how it's going to be. Like David Hayter and I met working on the old Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s, and we just became buds. We just hit it off. And like I like helped him find roommates at one point, and he was like, hey, yeah, I was like, I need to get out. He's like, come with me and my friends. And before either of us really had big careers, and we're still really close friends to this day. And I've got other friends who are very successful in different aspects of the industry, and we sort of all knew each other when, and because we're the truth, right? We're the support system that's always going to tell you the truth. We know our motivations for being friends. We're just friends, you know? Yeah.
I think that's really nice. Like I think it's something that applies to sort of a lot of areas in most creative industries, really. And it's really interesting to hear you say that, because I know a lot of people within sort of the game development area outside of voice acting that have very, very similar stories.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that, you know, that we do a lot with GDN is trying to have people work on projects together. And, you know, as you work on those projects together, you meet people. Every single project, every single game jam, it's a chance to meet someone else and work with someone else.
Yeah.
And given how small the games industry is, there's a good chance that, you know, in 5 years time, 10 years time, someone that you worked with in the past is going to be in a place where they might get you access to, or, you know, vice versa.
Yeah.
And I think there's a kind of magic to that, I think.
There is. And there's so many companies out there that live by that magic. I think people look to your AAA houses and stuff and go, oh my God, you know, those huge titles, those huge companies. And the best ones, and because I privileged to work with a lot of different companies, the coolest environments are those places where it's just like that. Like I look at Hinterland, and right now they're advertising, like they're hiring like crazy. And I want to say to everybody, go there. They're the greatest people. They're just, it's an awesome company with awesome philosophy. And I look at Insomniac, like they never crunched on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Look at BioWare, like they just, it was the doctors, you know, who started it, and because they love games and stuff. And there was a company, this little thing out of Edmonton, you know, yeah, Edmonton, which is a powerful creative hub. You know, they're just people who got together because they loved what they were doing. And the truth is, I think we look at the trappings, we look at the titles and the accomplishments and the financial benchmarks, and we go, that's the thing that's going to make me feel amazing. And yeah, it's a great feeling for a few minutes. And then you go back to the rest of your life and the rest of your day, and you're like, oh, and then there's life, right? And if you're surrounded by people you enjoy their company at work and otherwise, that's the hack right there.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. So one of the things I did want to ask as well is, since, you know, a lot of people are game developers here, sort of in many sort of in the early stages, if they have never worked with a voice actor before, you know, they have no idea how to give direction, they don't even know how to find voice actors, which now we know there's a great place called Skillshub where they can find voice actors.
Yes.
But when it comes to things, you know, like giving direction and helping them develop voices, how much sort of input do you think there should be for the developer side, and how do you think it would be for a new voice actor to work with a developer? What does that relationship look like?
I am going to dip into Skillshub for a second, because we have, I mean, look, Skillshub happened because I got sick and tired of auditioning in the dark. And even at my level of experience, I still sometimes just wanted someone I could trust for 5 minutes. I didn't need an hour-long coaching. I just wanted 5 minutes. And it's turned into, well, 10 minutes is apparently the minimum. Other people just wanted 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's turned into this incredible hub for people just starting out. And then we realized through conversations with people like you guys and other people that there's a need for devs at that level, at that just starting out level, who want to cast something, and they've got, you know, $30 or $50 or whatever they've got in their pockets to pay somebody to do a couple voices for them. And there's voice actors just starting out who just need to get their feet wet. And that's the perfect place for them to do it. So we built this thing called the Opportunity Board. And I was shocked to discover through our conversation that people get charged for roles that they book through the sites. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. I mean, Skillshub, when you're an actor and you're on there for the community and the coaching, it's $12.99 a month. That's it. Done. And then the coaching, whatever the coaches charge. But for developers and casting people, it's completely free. Come in, post your job on the Opportunity Board. And for the actors, when you book those jobs, you don't pay us anything. Enjoy yourself, have a good time, do the job. Like, okay, so that's the place where you're going to meet. Now, when you meet people, future voice directors, developers, creators, it's really helpful to have an understanding of acting. So, I mean, again, it's all going to sound like a plug, but it's what we built this thing for. Book 10 minutes with any actor on Skillshub, any of our coaches. We have coaches who are actors as well, and get them to teach you how to direct them. It's really, they'll be able to, in that 10 minutes, and I'll tell you now, the specifics are, when you do a scene as an actor, you need to know you need context. Because when we're doing games, we just got our list of our lines. And you could give me a line that says, hand it over. And it could be anything. I'm a mom, hand it over. Okay, but what are the circumstances? I'm a soldier, hand it over. Okay, but who am I talking? These are the questions actors need to answer. Who am I talking to? What do I want from them? What happens if I don't get what I want? What are they giving back to me? Are they cooperating? Are they not cooperating? Because I'm playing off that. Since it's voice acting and we don't have a set, what's happening around me? You know, am I in danger? Is somebody coming to kill me right now? Do I have a little breathing time? Are we a walk and talk? Are we a stand and chat? Are we a sit and interrogate? Are we a sit and chat? Are we a sit and interrogate? Like, there's all these nuances need to be made clear. So you have to paint a picture for the actor. While you're painting that picture, pay attention to your actor and how they're hearing you. Because there's going to be a minute when they're going to go, you're going to see something light up in them. Get off the button and let them try one. It doesn't cost you anything. If you keep talking after that spark has ignited and then subsided, the actor then has to go back and artificially create that spark for you after the fact, which it'll be fine. That's our job. But you get the gold by knowing when to get off the button. Like Chris Zimmerman-Salter is one of the, she's the goat. She's a goat. She's an OG. She's incredible. She's responsible for much of the tone of modern gaming, therefore a significant chunk of pop culture as far as I'm concerned. And look her up. She's directed tons of stuff. And she and I, when we work together, sometimes she'll go, and I'll go, and I'll do exactly what she said, because her body language communicated to me. And some actors also, you have a lot of responsibility in the director's seat, in the one guiding the boat seat. You have to know, does the person in front of me ingest information visually? Do they ingest it orally, through their ears? Do they ingest it kinesthetically? If I'm working with a kinesthetic actor, I'm going, it's like, you get stabbed and they'll go, oh, got it. And if I'm working with an oral actor, I'm going to go, it's the thing goes in and it makes this scorching sound and they're screaming and they're, oh, okay. If I'm working with a visual actor, it's like this thing flies through the air and hits you in the, like there's those different cues that will light them up. And sometimes you can flat out ask somebody, how do you mostly learn? For me, I'm kinesthetic visual, both kind of mostly because I'm very empathic and intuitive that way, right? Other people, a cue is like if somebody speaks and communicates in the style that Obama did, they're likely an oral person. Their pacing is much slower. So you're going to direct, if you're talking to them like this, you're going to lose them. You're going to speak to them in the way that they speak to you. When you mirror back to somebody, you get a quicker connection, and you need an actor to be open. Now it's their job to be open, but you can also shut them down by not seeing them. Yeah, this is another 3-hour conversation, but yeah.
Lots of great input. You mentioned last time we talked that you have a lot of insight into the game development process itself because you work with so many game devs. And do you have some advice when a dev should like start including voice actors in the development process?
I do. There's a wonderful thing. Another one of my crazy ideas I came up with has been actually implemented by a company called the Help Network, and it is free. And you're going to want to ask for SWAT, SWAAT. They came up with the acronym to make it sound all cool. Basically, the idea was this. I looked around and I think I just done a what they call a table read of a screenplay that a friend of mine was working on. And we just showed up in his living room, and he assigned us all parts, and we read it out loud, and he could kind of hear it up on its feet, and he could hear anywhere it was clunky and anywhere it really worked. And then for plays, there are readings of plays. You can gather it around somebody's table and like test out your play, but there was nowhere for that to happen for games. So I brought that to Chip Beeman, and he was like, let's do it. Because I have the ideas. I need other people to implement them. Skillshub only happened because I met Bill Reed at barbecue. My sister had an idea and a plan, and she got us together. And now she's the organization, and Bill's the developer, the phenomenal developer. But SWAT happened in a similar way. And all you do is you just contact Help Network, ask about SWAT, or if you've got friends, you don't have to use SWAT. It's free. It's absolutely free. And you can get people like me, Elias Tufexis, like you get some killer people in, that sounds like I'm blowing my own horn, but I do know how to do this. You get killer people in there, Sarah Elmale, like to like do your script for you in a virtual sort of Zoom setting. You can do, you can gather some friends just to read it out loud and start it early on, like just test a scene. You're like, I'm not sure how this is going to go. Just grab a couple people and have them just kind of walk through the scene, and you'll hear if you're, and have them be dead honest with you, because I'll tell you, what works in print does not always work in the spoken word. It can get very clunky, especially if English is not a primary language and you're working in English. Some of those translations allow your actors to play and flow with it. This was an extraordinary thing. I think I have two favorite instances of this kind of playing with it happening. One was Gordon Hunt, who was the OG. He was the goat. He was I'll cry. I miss Gordon every day. I did a film with him, and I was the lead in it, and animated feature, and Brendan Fraser was the male lead, and Brendan hadn't done as much animation. I had done quite a bit even then, and called Sinbad Beyond the Veil of Mists or something like that. And Gordon had this way of setting up a scene. He'd give us some direction, and he'd say, it's here, and he'd paint that picture for us, and he'd go ahead. And we'd run the whole thing, which doing it as a scene really lets it flow, and give the actors a couple runs to kind of get into it, if they want. If you're doing a free table reading, ask the actors how much time they have. But if they're on the clock, give them a couple times through. And the other one was, we were doing Bioshock Infinite, and Ken Levine it's unusual in a game that we actually get to record together, unless it's mocap. That's why mocap's one of my favorite things. And or PCAP, as we're now calling it, performance capture. And Oliver Vaquer and I were the Lutece twins in that game, and we were brought in at the same time, and they had us set up so we could see each other and we could play off of each other, and it was divine. And we'd go through a scene, and we'd get it the way the words were on the page, and then Ken would say, we got that, now just play with it. And for some actors, it may take them a minute to really believe you and trust that they can and find their own legs. Like, really, no one's going to kill me? Because like if you work on a BioWare property, it's literally like you don't deviate a punctuation mark, because of their technical requirements are so heavy. So actors may be used to that. And improv actors may just be like, yeah, well, stop with it. It just depends. So get some people together, let them read it out loud. Those are some resources that you can tap into if that will be helpful. And I imagine at Skillshub will probably put a SWAT room in there so we can let people come and do this kind of thing, these free readings of their material to test it out. But getting the actors involved early is really helpful. I think it saves you some pain down the road, and it also can be done in a super affordable way. Yeah.
Awesome. That's really great advice. I wouldn't have thought of that, to be honest, to just sit down and read it through. I wouldn't have really thought about it much.
Yeah. And you don't, unless you're enjoying acting, don't you do it. If you're the writer, unless you're like a Seth MacFarlane or somebody like that who can hold all those hats at once. Sit back and let the actors gift you their experience of it, and they may bring you things you never imagined. You know,
I think that's a really good point. Like, especially for those of us that's sort of like sitting sort of the engineering room for 8 hours a day, hidden from the rest of the world, to hear this kind of insight in, you know, how to give actors those energies, you know, how to help them help you, essentially, to try and put them in the role of the character. I think it's something that it's very easy to miss, especially in indie. You know, when you don't really have that kind of backlog of, you know, actors to work with, or, you know, it's your first time working with an actor, it's hard to really gauge how that relationships work. So I think that's probably going to help a lot of people.
good. I want to add something to that, and this is it's a generalization, so please forgive it, but many actors don't come to acting because they're from the greatest families in the world and they have the most stable self-esteem. So please know, as someone guiding and directing an actor, that when you just, and also the acting space is an extraordinarily vulnerable space. You know, if you're doing, it doesn't matter the thing you're doing, if comedy, drama, you know, intense, whatever it is, you're bearing your soul. So typically what happens is you bare your soul, and this is what you hear. Okay, let's do another one.
Oh.
You know, and so good directors who understand, look, and I work on the head game. I coach about the head game on Skillshub. I have a Patreon where we work on the head game. Like that's the actor's responsibility. It's also though important to know that everybody's in different phases of managing their head game. So what's an often useful thing to do is, great, we got to sort some things out. We'll be back with you in a sec. You know, and that way it makes it not personal. Jamie Mortellaro is king of that. Chris Zimmerman and Charlie Adler, who's a brilliant teacher, they have a funny story that I learned in their class, God, 2.5 decades ago. And the story is called Tuna Sandwich, because Charlie, you know, like Charlie was in there doing a take, and Chris was like, hold on. And she's like, no, you know, like, you're seeing all this. And she goes, tuna sandwich. And he's like, he can relax. Because what's going on is, but he said the turkey. He didn't say the tuna. He hates tuna. Why did you get him the tuna? You know, they're talking the lunch order. You know, but an actor's going to go, they're yelling at each other and pointing. They hate me. I'm going to be fired. I suck at this. You know, so just know. And some actors are like, I get in there, I'm like, man, I literally take nothing personally, but that's years of training myself not to, you know, years of being insanely proactive with the conversation in my head.
I think one thing that'd be really nice, kind of like going off the back of that, then, is it's very, very obvious that you're passionate about voice acting and you're passionate about helping people.
Yeah.
And I guess sort of a general question is, why did you start Skillshub specifically?
Specifically because we used to audition and we'd go places and there'd be somebody there when you got to the casting place to say, okay, all right, go ahead. They want this and this, and they'd paint that scene for you. And then technology came in, 15 years ago or so. And they started to send you a copy to do at home. And I was like, no, I'd drive all the way to my agency, park, wait, go in there. And brilliant booth directors is what all they did all day was direct people in the booth. Would be like, okay, great. We want to try, that sounded awesome. Take one or two. Well, let's play. Okay, great. And it was the most peaceful feeling. And then I started recording at home and I was like, 5 takes later, I'm like, I think I have it. I don't know. I'm not used to self-directing. This sucks. I just want someone for 10 minutes just to tell me what to do. And I took the idea to somebody in LA, and they're like, about 2.5 years ago, and they're like, that's a good idea. I have no idea how to do it technically. And then, as I mentioned earlier, my sister, my very smart sister, invited me to a barbecue about a year ago and was like, I want you to meet my friend Bill. I'm like, hi, Bill, what do you do? I'm a developer. What do you develop? You know, just things that people need. And I was like, you know, I have this idea. And he's like, let me think about that. And he looked at it and he was like, there's nobody doing exactly this. There's places where you can get ongoing classes. I think there are a couple people out there, but because of my career and my, you know, long time in the business, I have access to, like, yesterday, Dara O'Farrell, who he directed for years for LucasArts and all kinds of people. He directs like AAA stuff all over the place. Just emailed him, was like, I did a coaching session. It was so great. I love this thing. We've got people who direct for Activision, Blizzard, Marvel, Disney, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, like, and I can connect those people to actors who, like, some of the top directors coach what we call level 2 and 3s. Level 2s are people who've just started to kind of work a bit, you know, and level 3s are like been doing this a while. And level 1s are people who are like, I've always wanted to try it, all the way over to I've been trying it, I'm ready to start working. So our coaches choose the level they want to coach. And a lot of our coaches coach all levels. It's wild. Because Dara, there's these, we're really, it's really important to us that there's content on the site regardless of the coaching. So I've been doing these interviews with everybody where I sit down with Dara O'Farrell and Amanda Wyatt and, you know, Meredith Lane and, you know, Don Hershey. And I ask these people, okay, you're a casting director. You get 90, 100, I've heard 300 auditions for one part. How much do you actually listen to? And they're like 7 to 10 seconds. I'm like, okay. So what has you listen longer than 7 to 10 seconds? And they'll tell us. And I'm like, what do you wish actors would stop doing? You know, what do you wish you'd known when you started? So there's that whole bank of, like, it's, I get to, through Skillshub, I get to give people what I wish I had all along, you know, and we want to create community. It's also really important to me to make a world where all boats rise together, where barriers are broken down. My career is just a delivery system for barrier breaking down. Like, that's what I do. And that's what this is about. We want to break down geographic barriers. We want to break down barriers to entry. You know, we want to, like, if somebody's doing a game out of Zambia and they I think it would be incredible if people don't have to migrate to London, Toronto, Vancouver, LA, New York in order to get something made, so that when that game is made, they get to stay where they are, have access to incredible resources, and that game actually has the flavor of that place, so that when you play it, you're really having an experience of something cool and unique and specific and engaging, like, and just sucks you in and feels so amazing. And it's true Zambia, or it's true, you know, Thailand, or it's true China or Australia or Minnesota or Florida or whatever. Like, that excites me. So yeah, I built it to help build the world I want to see.
So wonderful. You're so passionate about it. You can just feel it while you're talking, and it's just lovely, really. We have someone asking something in the Twitch chat. As someone who specializes in creature voice sound effects, how would you share your skills or apply to a voice acting listing without the possibility of your sounds being recorded and stolen? Also, are there coaches for creature voice acting as well?
There's a coach. I haven't gotten him on our site yet, but I'm trying to get B. Bradley Baker in there. Actually, you know what? Any of the coaches who are voice directors many of them have had to deal with creature voice stuff. Keith Farley, you know, all the ones I've mentioned so far. Anybody who's got voice director listed as one of their things, I guarantee you they've run into something that's sounding in that zone, or quite likely they have. I don't know about protection of your sounds and having them lifted. I will share with you what I did on my demo. When I first came to LA, I recognized that I needed to distinguish myself from the, you know, thousands of people wanting to come in the door the way that I was. And, you know, talent is great, but having something you love and can do well is even better. And I think I had just booked my first cartoon series. No, my demo, I had not booked that cartoon series yet. I started my very first reel, and it was actually a reel. Yeah. That with 9-10 seconds of effort sounds. So it was like, actually, it wasn't even that many. It's probably 5 seconds. It's like, and I think that was the last one. It was like punch, kick, hit. And it was just like a collection of them was the first thing you heard in my reel. It was like, whoa. And had you listening. And then the next thing I had was as normal as possible. And then the next thing I had was as weird as possible. So I was just slingshotting people because I wanted to communicate, I have range. This is it. So I recommend, I can share that with you. That was effective for me, I think. I think it worked out. Yeah.
This sounds great.
That's really interesting. It's kind of like how like most like YouTube channels work nowadays is they try to hook you in with that initial like 5-second clip, Then you get the 20-minute video, and somewhere within there, there's a few more things sprinkled in. But it's interesting that back when you were using physical reels, you were kind of pioneering this this sort of like marketing technique, essentially.
I know life is short. It's so funny. Yeah, I mean, people don't have time. I those minute with interviews I referenced earlier, I went through and I pulled like 60 seconds from each one that we could share on social media. And I'm watching it and I'm like, they're great. There's a lot of value in that 60 seconds, but I'm like, oh my God, my goldfish brain, they're too long. I'm gonna go back and do shorter ones, like cut. I'm like, too long to not listen.
So
but yet, I think people will dive into the full interview.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think something that would be really interesting to follow up from that then is for voice actors, apart from using Skillshub, of course, what's the best way for them to market themselves? How do you convince people that they're the right person for a gig?
This is going to sound like a huge downer, but it's actually the most freeing thing in the world. You're never going to convince anybody. Don't convince anyone. Don't go out to get jobs. The audition is the job. You can go out to get auditions, but please never go into an audition to get a job. It's going to sound crazy, but just stay with me. Go into an audition to give that writer, that creator, your fullest living of their material. And that's the job. Walk away with a powerful thank you, be complete, be done, pat yourself on the back, congratulate yourself. How you talk to yourself after the audition will kill you off or keep you going. We'll talk about that more later, but the audition is the job. What you want to do every day, every time you go out there and put yourself out there, you want to just bring your soul forth, bring your note, your signal of what that is in that moment, as loud, clear, and strong as you can, because they're going to find you when it's your material. Elias Tufexis, I did an interview with him the interviews is, and he nails this. He's like, look, I'm either going to get nothing at all out of this, or I'm one of the top 5 for the job. And if you're one of the top 5 for the job, it's really just like, height, hair color, eye color, stuff that's none of your business. You're either fit to the puzzle or you're not. You either belong in the puzzle game, which can you do the basics? Can you do the basics? Can you do a scene? Can you do it well? Great. None of the rest of it's any of your business. Just keep showing up. It's like trying to find somebody in a mall. When we used to go to malls in a park, trying to find somebody in an outdoor space with when we didn't have physical distancing. If you run around trying to find them, you're going to miss them 6 times. Stay where you are. Do what you do. They're going to bump into you and go, where have you been? And you're going to go, right here, doing this. Isn't it awesome? Just do the fullest, and I keep saying this because it's true and people have heard it before, but listen to me. Okay? Put down whatever else you're multitasking. Listen to me. There is only one of you on this whole planet. There is only one. Don't be anything else or you will have never happened. And that would be a huge loss. Just do you. The right people, things, and time will find you. Find joy in your day. Love yourself like crazy, because that is the foundation of everything. I know it sounds cheesy, but your life gets a lot better when you start doing it. And just have a good time. It will all fall into place.
I think that's something we're going to have to clip. I think that was beautifully put. Beautifully put. I think that couldn't ring true for like a lot of people, especially for those who are just getting started out. Anytime there's a rejection, and I know when I first got started in just general game dev, I got so many rejections. I'd be sending out 50 emails and getting nothing back. And to have that, at that kind of level, it can be really disheartening. But I think what you just said is so spot on, in that everyone has unique value, and some characters are immutable, and I think that's part of what adds that value in.
Yeah. I want to ask you, is that path what drove you to the inspiration that created this?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I've always been interested in education. I've always been interested in teaching people. Um,
And the creation, this network serves people every day. And in a way, I sometimes see the hand of the universe in these things going, no, Liam, no, Liam, no, no, no. Okay, he got it. He got it. Yes, he's going to do the thing we need him to do. Yes. You know? You know? Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the things I love about these kinds of communities is that, you know, the same with GDN and the same with Skillshub is because we aren't, you know, financial first, you know, it's like with Skillshub, like compare that to other services we won't name, but, you know, almost every other service out there, if you want to find a voice actor, you're going to pay a fee. If you're a voice actor trying to find someone, you're going to pay a fee. And those are always percentage-based fees, you know. You get penalized for your success. And, you know, it's things like just offering people that platform to learn and to meet people. I think that's something that's really undervalued is just meeting people. It's like, you
connection.
Know, yeah, exactly. It's like,
I think, I was having, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you go.
I was having an incredible conversation with Chris Brown, who I'll keep saying this, sorry to be cheesy, who's one of our coaches. Yay. And she studied anthropology, and she was talking about how people often cite that phrase survival of the fittest, but she's actually read those texts, I think potentially multiple times. And she said that phrase appears maybe a half a dozen times. And what's just proliferates throughout that book is the phrase community and cooperation. That's in there a couple hundred times. That's what brings us all forward. You know, all boats rise together. We link arms. It's Red Rover. And this is, I mean, just to get kind of big picture-y about it for a second, honestly, the corporate takeover of many aspects of our day-to-day lives has hurt us all in that it has outsourced our fulfillment to a corporation. It has outsourced our measure of whether we're doing okay or not to these advertising standards. It has outsourced the power structure to lobbyists and people trying to control and take over some really terrifying, icky stuff that honestly none of us want to think about, but impacts all of us. And we can take that back. You know, I have a Patreon site, and that's, you know, part of what we work on is, you know, we can take back our measure of what makes us happy, our definition of success. Let's take that back first. You know, for me, success is, you know, am I connected to people I care about? Am I taking good care of myself? Am I having time with my kid? Am I having time with my dog? Am I paying my bills in a way that, you know, either I can tolerate or even makes me happy or brings me joy? And am I serving people? Am I spreading my experience far and wide to save people trouble down the road if that's what they want? If you want trouble, go get it. There's lots, you know, but if you want to save some time and trouble, I'm here, you know, like, anyway, I got off on a tangent there, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think those are all like really important messages to hear, though, like especially for, you know, for the people listening now, and regardless of where you're at, it's lessons that are very easy to forget, and you know, but potentially even more true for those who are, you know, in more senior roles. Like I know, at least personally, like the more senior roles I've been in, I felt more disconnected from why I like doing those things in the first place. And it's like things like GDN, I get more out of that than pretty much every other role I've done, because it's purely community based, and it's the reason that me and Kim know each other now. It's that we like spending that time supporting other people, and I think it's something that lends well to things like Skillshub, where it's community first, and I think that's kind of the key phrase there.
100%. You know, at the end, I mean, at the end of, I like reading those things that are about, you know, that our most senior citizens of the planet have to say. And they always come back to, on your deathbed, you're not going to go, I wish I'd made more money. It's like, I wish I'd hung out with my friends more. I wish I'd, you know, it's all those little stuff. And in a crazy way, this pandemic has given us that, it's taken a lot, but it also has brought some gifts with it. And that one of the biggest gifts is the power of community. Like, we've been forced to community up to get through. And when we don't, it hurts, you know? Yeah.
I mean, we on GDN, we basically are confronted with this every day because we have people from AAA and we have these weird weird letters, AAA, AA. We have indies, and everyone has everyone loves making games, or at least most of them do, with a passion, but everyone has such different goals. We have the indies that just do it for passion and love for game making. We have people who aspire to have the next big stuff like Stardew Valley, and then we have people who grew up with some AAA games and just want to join these big companies now. And it's always like, as you said, at the end of the day, it's not about making money or something. It's always about, okay, did I really do something that I can say I'm proud of? Did I enjoy being here? And it's always interesting to see because we have so many people with different backgrounds, different lives, and some of them learn to look at different things. Some of them sit there and are really confused because we try to not push the idea of AAA is everything, make the most money, get the highest in your career. We always try to say, be careful, put yourself first wherever you go, because we don't want, the game dev industry is full of very, very wrong priorities at times. And it's something we see a lot. We see a lot of this. Yeah, crunch here, crunch there, show you're passionate, sacrifice everything just to get into that one big name company. And it's something, yeah, we battle with a lot. So it's really nice to have this space, especially on GDN. And it seems you share this passion to just say, put yourself first.
Yeah.
It's great. We all love games, but please put yourself first. Look at yourself and take care of yourself first.
Yeah. The environment you guys are providing here and the connection and the community is so powerful. And you're so right. I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier when I mentioned Insomniac, but one of the things about Ratchet and Clank one of the statistics that I love the most, or the facts that I love the most, is they did not crunch. They did not crunch on that game. And they were very clear, we're not crunching. We're not killing our people. Yes. We're not eating our young. That's a mentality that needs to die.
Yes. Yeah, we agree. I think
it takes people out of the industry. It takes beautifully talented, amazing people out for good. And it doesn't have to be that. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I think one thing that would be really interesting to hear. I promise we're not trying to make too much promo around GDN around this. I realize we're going in
go.
a bit of a GDN line. But I'd be really curious to know if there's any sort of things that you have observed in your time about voice actors specifically, in terms of either mistakes or misconceptions they've made about the games industry that you wish you could tell them now.
Misperceptions on the parts of actors when they look at working in the gaming industry. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So more, yeah, exactly. So misconceptions about, this idea of the games industry is the only thing that I should be focusing on right now, sort of trailing from before.
No. No. I mean, it's funny. I've been in it long enough that when I started doing games, honestly, I think I have the Guinness record for women, because my peers were like, oh no, I'm not doing that. That's a lot of work. And I was like, I want to buy a house. I'll do it. So it was like secondary in a way when I first started. And now it's wild. People come in just to do that. But there are so many other aspects of voice acting work. My God. When the great thing about a space like this is you can test those out. Maybe somebody's creating not just a game, but a little animated series. Maybe somebody's got a radio play series. Maybe somebody's doing a fictional podcast. You can read to the blind. I mean, that's a killer way to practice and to get into the, to kind of get your skill set up. Reading audiobooks, reading books out loud. I've done my first 2 audiobooks in the last year. Holy gods. I mean, my first one was 880 pages and had around 50 characters. So but it was phenomenal. Such a killer experience. But that's a great way to cut your teeth. There's so many things, in-show announcers for live events, like trade shows. There's a billion places to get work as a voice actor. You just get out there and start asking. Yeah, I actually literally pounded the pavement when I started. So that was quite the thing. I did it analog, old school. It was a thing. Yeah.
One thing I was wondering, like say I have my character in my head, I have it planned out, maybe even concept art and everything. Like I have this image of a person in my head, and now I'm looking at people to voice that person. How do I go about, how do I explain in my search, in my post, like say, for example, on Skillshub, how do I explain what I'm looking for? What are some pointers we can give as devs if we are looking for a specific person or like for something specific? What's helpful?
I'll tell you the specifics that are helpful to me. And I know everybody works their own way, but I've done this a few times. So the things that are helpful to me are, number one, what kind of a universe is it? Is it a fantasy universe? And reference something I'm familiar with, not, and just say, please, and make it really clear. These are only for general concept tones. Like it's a Lord of the Rings tone, or it's a Battlestar Galactica tone, or it's a, a vibe. The vibe is in this zone. The world is, it's a fantasy, it's a role play, it's this. So I need the general tone of the universe I'm in. I also need to know what's the language. Are people speaking in, like in the Star Wars universe, we have 1 billion dialects we all play with. Like Dave and Jordan, they love their dialects, so we do dialect dance. And so it's super fun. I recently had to recreate one that I did back in Clone Wars, and I was like, what did I do? What? Okay. So you want to open it up and say, in this world, there are many different dialects, or in this world, everyone sounds kind of like a standard American or a standard British, or, everyone has this kind of a flair to their speech. Don't say accent, but a flair to their speech. That'll kind of open it up. So it doesn't have to be a perfect accent. So that's, you need the world and the general tone of the world. And then the feel. Is it a really dark, serious drama kind of feel, or is it kind of whimsical? Is it, Family Guy zone? Or are you, again, looking at Battlestar or, or C or something like that? So, are you Ted Lasso or are you C? Yeah. So you want a general tone, and then you can get into the character themselves. And I think a lot in those Joseph Campbell archetype terms, which is, what's their role in the world? Are they the soldier, the nurse, the mother, the best friend, the boyfriend, the one who's always screwing up, and then ends up saving the world, the general archetypes, right? And in that you can use, I remember they referenced Han Solo when I auditioned for Mass Effect, and that's one of the things that clicked the most for me. And please mix your genders, please. If you're auditioning like a female soldier, use the dudes. You mix up. If you're auditioning the men, use the women. Put a Ripley in there. Who cares? Like whatever comes to mind. Let's please, I invite you to rip gender and ethnicity off of all your descriptions and let all peoples audition for all things, because you don't know when that next amazing sound's gonna come across your ears. And so with your dialogue, you want to keep it, don't overdo your description and get so specific that it's a balance. You don't want to have so much in there the actor feels like, I'm chained to this now, and others are going to be like, I don't know enough. So it's a balance. You can always put like, this is the short thing. If you want to know more, read on. If you need more detail, the next 3 paragraphs for you. If you got enough, have a good time, Okay. So, and then the line, it really is always in the writing. And if you can, put the whole scene in there so they can read what's happening around, and have both. You could have like the whole scene with the back and forth lines, and then a block of just their lines pulled, so people can work in whatever way they work. If I've got the whole scene, I get to see, oh, this is who I'm reacting to. This is what they just said to me. And it's going to be so much better. And if you can do it, if you can record with with people together, you can do it technologically. It can be done this way. It works really, really well. It's the untapped secret sauce. Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point. So we actually see quite a lot of people posting, like voice acting, like looking for voice actors.
Yeah.
But usually it's very, very brief. We're looking for a voice actor. Maybe like a line or 2 at most. But that's really interesting, like giving an entire scene, because that gives so much more context to the voice actor.
Oh, yeah. It's just an upload. I mean, we're not charging for it. I don't know if other people do, but we're not. Like, have at it. Have a good time. Don't go crazy, because people will get overwhelmed. Just like keep it to 1 page. Like, here's the short version. Here's the long version. Here's the 2-page scene. Here's the lines broken down. Because the truth is, don't send a 10-page scene. You're not going to listen to it. You're not going to listen to more than 10, 15 seconds, because you're going to know like that. and then you can have callbacks. Don't overspend people's time. Yeah.
Very good point.
Yes.
So we've talked quite a bit about Skillshub, but it would be really good to sort of hear, no, not a bad thing, but it'd be really good to sort of hear like what the flow's like. So, let's say I am a game developer.
Yeah.
How do I sign up? What's the process look like as a game developer?
As a game developer, you just come to the site and you go to the Skillshub and you click on Opportunity Board and you post the roles that you have to cast. And I think you can choose how you want to be notified, and then you wait for actors to show up. If you want, you could hit the forum and go, hey, I just posted a job, or you can hit me up on Twitter and I'll go, someone just posted a job on the Opportunity Board. It's so cool. And then I'll like throw it out all over the universe, or Instagram or whatever. And that's it. It's very, very simple. And if you have any issues, you just email support. And the cool thing for us at this stage, support is the guy who built the site.
Wow.
You are straight into Bill the genius Bill. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very simple. And then actors will submit to you and you listen and you're on your way. And the first few people who come in and do it, it'll be awesome, because we'll probably get in touch with you and say, what about this process worked for you? What do you need us to change going forward? We really want to build this around you guys, because I suspect that may be our next vertical after actors as developers, is finding a place where people could actually get coached from people who've done this before. Like if you're stuck on something or you need to know something, we have to see if there's a need for that, sort of thing, but we'll see. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. Like that's
Yeah.
a lot. That's really simple.
Yeah.
I guess on the
Post
flip
it
side
up.
as well. So for all the voice actors here right now, and for everyone who'll be watching this later,
Yeah.
what is Skillshub to a voice actor? What does the process look like for signing up, for learning materials, for finding work?
The process as a voice actor, what happens is you go to the site, you decide if membership's for you. It's $12.99 a month. There's no like monthly, there's no long commitment. If you come in for a month, you come in for a month, but that's whatever you need. And what's really important on there are the two sides of it. There's the skills side, which is the coaching side. You then browse the coaches and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to book, 20 minutes with this one and 15 minutes with that one and half an hour with that one. And I'll book 10 minutes with this one to figure out how in God's name to even start this. Or I'll book 15 minutes with this one to show them where I'm at so they can tell me what to do next. I do that a lot with people. And I'll say, go see these coaches for these skills and then come back to me. And it's just your $12.99 a month and whatever you want to spend on coaching. And the coaches vary anywhere from I think it's like $1.50 a minute, maybe even less, to, we have one coach who's super expensive, but she's tops on the planet in what she does. And she's worth it. So you come in and you do your coaching, and then also make sure you dive into this thing called the Hub. And the Hub is what we built so that people who are members and just aren't ready for coaching are getting a lot of value. In the Hub, we have the forum where people go talk about all kinds of stuff, from what monitor do I get? What mic do I get? How do you handle this? How do you handle that? I need help with this. Like, we all dive in there. And then check out the Minute With interviews. It's basically a private podcast for members from people working in the industry. And I'm adding new content every single week. We're doing fireside chats, the first of which will be uploaded next week. The first one's the founders chat. It's just us talking about how Skillshub happened, which is cool. The second one we've already recorded, and it's a whole conversation about working in the non-union space, working in the union space. How do you protect yourself? What do you charge? How does it all work? And it's a deep conversation with some really experienced people. So there's the fireside chats. And then the cool thing is we built this thing called the casting corner and the skills tracker, so that every time a voice actor trains, or we have on-camera training as well, an actor trains on Skillshub, that training is tracked. So, because casting these days is really specific. If you want a trans-Pacific Islander, you're not hiring somebody to be like one. You want the real thing. And our actors can opt into the system so that in the casting corner for casting professionals, it's free. Come in the site and look for talent. They can go, I need a trans-Pacific Islander, and boop, there's the people who identify as that, self-identify that way. And it's self-identification, it's how you see yourself. And they can go, well, they've never done anything. They've never worked, but through their skills tracker, that casting person says, oh, I see they've spent a half an hour with this coach, 15 minutes with that coach, 20 minutes with that coach, an hour with that coach. They're worth my time. I'll ping them to audition for me. So those are the benefits that that we provide through the site. And it's connecting actors with actors. Oh my God. Okay. We have a brand new feature we're launching, I think, in a week and a half, maybe sooner. It's called workout rooms. And now when I lived in LA, we would do a thing where we'd take a class, we'd get all inspired, and we'd put together a workout group where we'd show up from like 7 to 10 on a Tuesday night and pay an engineer to stay after and work late. No director or anything, but we just support each other and coach each other. We created a virtual version of that. It'll be like a level 1/2 room, a level 2/3 room. There'll be one, we're going to start out, just seed some rooms for like commercials and promos or animation and games. And people can just sign up and go in there for free and work out together. Just work out together, do your thing, have fun. I'll see you. Yeah. So yeah, that's the process.
Nice. You mentioned how much to charge, and we just had someone in the Twitch chat ask if you can post amateur or unpaid projects on Skillshub as a developer. I've seen you say you can, yeah.
You can. You just have to put at the top, like, this is an unpaid,
Okay.
this is a hobby project or an amateur project. Because there's actors out there that have never done anything. And we'll be like, go on, get your feet wet, do it. In fact, we could probably, maybe we might put together a mechanic where we'll email our level ones when something gets posted at that level and say, hey, everybody, go audition, go try. Yeah.
That all sounds amazing. Like it's so nice for like us as a community to hear how much work that you're putting into making this accessible. And I think sort of accessibility is key here, and it's something that could be really hard for, especially for voice acting. It's for things like engineering or artwork. There's plenty of platforms for that already. Whereas voice acting, the resources there, they're just not as bountiful as they are for all the other areas. So it's really nice that you're sort of filling that gap.
Yeah, it's fun to do. I'm excited, obviously very excited about it. Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of the hour, but I just want to extend it. I know it's flown by. We're having some tacos tonight, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that'd be so good.
I know. But
what do you put on yours?
Oh, what do I put on? Oh, I don't know. This is going to be controversial. So we've got beef, sweet corn, cucumber, chopped tomatoes, and some sour cream.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh, cheese. No cheese. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of controversial. I'm not a big cheeser.
A little cilantro, a little avocado.
Oh, avocado. See, that's a good one. I'm glad we saved this bit for the Q&A. Once
Sear the avocado on the inside of the shell, not before you heat it, but right before you put everything in, and it'll all stick to it.
Nice. No, I will. I remember that. This will be in the highlights reel. But yeah, just a huge thank you for myself, Kim, the whole GDN. It's really nice for you to be able to share this information with our community, and just to sort of educate more people on what Skillshub is, your experience, and how you're making voice acting more accessible.
Thank you. It's a joy to come, and anytime. I mean, I've been doing this a while, and I have a lot of experience to share. So if it's useful, I'm honored to come and do it. And what you guys are doing is so fantastic. It's creating community is the most powerful thing in the world. Yeah.
One thing, since we kind of end the official round, one thing I would like you to maybe give some advice you wish you had gotten at the very beginning of your career, something you think people should really hear, or that's really useful to hear in the beginning, especially.
Man, be kind to yourself. Above all, always be kind to yourself. Never speak ill of yourself. Always support yourself. Know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and it is all going to work out. So relax and enjoy it, because it's all going to be great.
I think that's a beautiful note to end on. I think that's
exactly.
I think that rings true for I think that has a lot of value for a lot of people out there.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody out there. Just you guys are the future, right? And I love being in these spaces with the future makers. It's It's fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for coming.
Mhm.
Yes, it was great fun.